Hello, hello, hello. I hope you are doing super well. This is a soft-spoken video on books because I get a lot of requests to talk more about books. So I decided to do a little video just talking to you a bit about books. So first I'll show you the book I'm currently reading and then the one that I read just before it and then the book that I plan to read after. So I'll talk about 3 books. All of these books are pretty fun, relatively light reads. That's just something that I've been craving lately with everything going on. I wanted to read for fun, so I made sure to put sort of just more enjoyable books on my list, whereas normally I read books maybe dealing with a little darker subject matter. Alright, so the first one I'm reading is Mrs. Caliban by Rachel Ingalls. And this is a book, you can see I'm almost done with it. It's not terribly long, which also makes it a fun read. It's like novella length, I would say. And basically it's about a woman who falls in love with a sea monster. So reading from the back. In the quiet suburbs, while Dorothy is doing chores and waiting for her husband to come home from work, not in the least anticipating romance, she hears a strange radio announcement about a monster who has just escaped from the Institute for Oceanographic Research. Reviewers have compared Rachel Ingalls' Mrs. Caliban to King Kong, Edgar Allan Poe's stories, the films of David Lynch, Beauty and the Beast, The Wizard of Oz, E.T., B horror movies, and the fairy tales of Angela Carter. How such a short novel could contain all of these disparate elements is a testament to its startling and singular charm. And I definitely get a little of the B horror vibes, like the description of this sea creature frogman is a little B movie-esque in a good way. That line between the real and the reality and fiction, or like reality and fantasy, I think is towed very thoughtfully so that the story is ultimately more immersive. And just the way Ingalls kind of introduces the idea that such a creature could exist is craft-wise quite artfully done, in my opinion. In the very beginning, she is cooking in the kitchen and listening to the radio to entertain herself, and she kind of hears these voices on the radio, like special broadcasts just for her. And so that introduces an element of, unreliability in terms of how Mrs. Caliban is like engaging or not engaging with reality or like a fantasy world from the very beginning. So then when the frog man shows up, it toes that line pretty brilliantly. And likewise, there's something in Mrs. Caliban's past, like a great tragedy that would propel her into this, what is the word I want? Into this, not interstitial, into this in-between state, liminal space, where she's both in and not in the world, I feel, or not really handling reality. But the frogman is very real in many respects. He has great physicality and exists in the world and eats lots of avocados. So it's very well written as well. Just nice, no-nonsense prose that's very inventive and fun to read. So I would highly recommend this. I would even recommend this as a beach read. I think it could be really fun. I'm obviously just at home reading it, but I really like it. I don't know why this changed to like a reddish color, but alright, so this is what I'm reading currently. Then the book I read just before that one was I Hold a Wolf by the Ears. I Hold a Wolf by the Ears, which is a title that comes from a Latin phrase meaning this. Basically, you're in a tricky situation. You don't want to be holding on to a wolf's ears, but if you let go, he may eat you. So, it is by Laura Vandenberg. When I first saw the cover, I thought it was very campy, and I still think it's very campy. But when I first saw the cover, I didn't like it very much, and it has since grown on me a great deal. I have a little lamb here, some railroad tracks, and then this train light in the background with some clouds, and it's not actually holographic, but the font and some of the coloring elsewhere on the cover, it suggests a holographic effect, but it's not actually, as you can see. So this is a collection of stories. Usually I don't like story collections, but I liked this one. Some stories stood out to me more than others, but ultimately I think they are very intriguing, mysterious, strange stories that I found myself thinking about long after I read them. Like I would read them and I would think, okay, that was a fine story, but I'm not, terribly excited by it. But then I would find myself thinking about it, 1, 2, 3 days later. So the way that she combines different elements together in these stories is very, very, very unique and very fun to read. Like there's one about like poisonous LaCroix. I have a friend who says LaCroix intentionally, ironically, because he thinks it's very funny to say it totally incorrectly, but it's rubbing off on me. So the inside cover reads, I Hold the Wolf by the Ears, Laura Vandenberg's first story collection since her prize-winning book, The Isle of Youth, draws readers into a world of wholly original, sideways ghost stories that linger in the mouth and the mind. Both timeless and urgent, these 11 stories confront misogyny, violence, and the impossible economics of America with Vandenberg's trademark spiky humor and surreal eye. They're very surreal. Moving from the peculiarities of Florida to liminal spaces of travel in Mexico City, Sicily, and Iceland, I Hold the Wolf by the Ears is uncannily attuned to our current moment and to the fears we reveal to no one but ourselves. Here it mentions the LaCroix one. It says, in Lizards, a man mutes his wife's anxieties by giving her a LaCroix-like seltzer laced with sedatives. In the title story, a woman poses as her more successful sister during a botched Italian holiday, a choice that brings about strange and destructive consequences, while in Carolina, a woman discovers her prickly ex-sister-in-law in the aftermath of an earthquake and is forced to face the truth about her violent brother. I Hold the Wolf by the Ears presents a collection of women on the verge, trying to grasp what's left of life, grieving, divorced, and hyper-aware, searching, vulnerable, and unhinged. They exist in a world that deviates from our own only when you look too closely. With remarkable control and transcendent talent, Vandenberg dissolves, in the words of the narrator of Slumberland, that border between magic and annihilation, and further establishes herself as a defining fiction writer of our time. It's quite lovely praise in addition to giving us an idea of the book's contents. So, my favorite stories were, interestingly, she has said in an interview that Last Night is the most autobiographical story. I find that very interesting because it's quite dark. But my favorite stories were Slumberland, Hill of Hell, Cult of Mary, and I Hold the Wolf by the Ears. But mostly Slumberland, Hill of Hell, and Cult of Mary. They're all great. The Volcano House was also quite interesting, but it didn't really hammer it home in the way that I wanted, but it's still quite interesting. Same with The Pitch, which I found eerie AF. It's so spooky. So if you like spooky stories, I highly recommend this book. Alright, and then once I'm finished with Mrs. Caliban, I'm going to read this little paperback called Temporary. By Hilary Lecter. I'm not sure. I have not read this yet, of course, but I'm very excited to. My friends have really liked it. All I know is that it's about a woman working temporary jobs, at a temp agency or through a temp agency, I believe. But let's see. It's quite hard to read because it's little white letters on this pink background, and it's very dark in here, but I'm gonna try. Okay. In Temporary, a young woman's workplace is the size of the world. She fills increasingly bizarre placements in search of steadiness, connection, and something at last to call her own. Whether it's shining an endless closet of shoes, swabbing the deck of a pirate ship, assisting an assassin, or filling in for the chairman of the board, for the mythical Temporary, there is nothing more personal than doing your job. For the mythical Temporary, maybe that's the name of the agency, there is nothing, this is in quotes, there is nothing more personal than doing your job. So, it seems like, this riveting quest, at once hilarious and profound, will resonate with anyone who has ever done their best at work, even when the work is only temporary. This is the book for the gig economy, apparently. So, I'm excited to read it. Like I said, my friends have really enjoyed it. If you've read it, you'll have to let me know. It also smells fantastic. It's brand new. So that's what I've been reading. So currently reading what I just read and what I plan to read. So if you've read anything good lately, let me know down below. Books are great. You are great. I hope you sleep well tonight, and I'll see you very, very soon. Good night.